The Oscar goes to One Battle After Another.
Here's a review for One Battle After Another, right after it won the Academy Award for Best Picture, and a few other Oscars as well. It was one Oscar after another for that movie. And for whatever reason, my voice sounds like right now, so try to bear with me for this review. But this movie came out September of last year. I didn't watch it when it was originally in theaters. I just wasn't in the mood for a 2-hour, 30-ish minute movie at the time. These days, I just know I get a little antsy with those long run times unless it's part of a big mega movie franchise that I have that level of investment in. Now, this movie had an okay little run at the box office for an Oscar bait movie. Although $209 million worldwide gross on a $175 million budget isn't ideal if you know how box office revenue works. Regardless, I actually checked this movie out the first time in early 2026 on HBO Max when I was catching up on my Oscar bait and Razzie bait movies for my end of the year 2025 ranking video, which was my last video to come out. But I was in the mood to watch the movie again right after the Oscars, as it was as relevant a time as any to check it out again. Plus, I never did a full review for it when it came out. In One Battle After Another, a former revolutionist attempts to rescue his daughter after a former rival reemerges to atone for sins of the past. A lot of the movie's focus on immigration and racial type issues is obviously very timely and very relevant for right now, but that's what makes the story very engaging to watch and makes it really horrifying if any of these scenarios occur in real life. But nothing brings out a little chaos and a little interracial romance. Regardless, I love the grit of the movie, how it feels really raw and appropriately real life-y, while having good production value. Although the fact that this movie cost $175 million to make is f***ing insane when it doesn't have any type of special effects or elaborate action. I guess a lot of it just went to the actors. But a movie like this should not have cost more than $90 million to make, and I'm being kind with that number. But if all that money did go to the actors, I'll say this, the performances were great here. Leo is awesome per usual. His character was maddeningly delightful in how effed in the head he was.
I don't remember that part. All right, let's just not nitpick over the password.
And that made him naturally very funny, yet you felt his fierce determination to save his daughter. I know Leo seemingly didn't have a shot to win the Oscar for Best Actor, which shout out to Michael B. Jordan, who definitely earned it. But Leonardo was great here too. There were major standout performances from a couple of your supporting roles. Miss Tiana Taylor was badass as a revolutionist Perdifia. There were moments where you end up really not liking her character, hating her in some scenes, but it made sense for the way the story played out. But as unlikable as she was in moments here and there, she has nothing on Sean Penn's Colonel Lockjaw. This was one evil monster of a character, whose main objective is to atone for his racial sins of the past in the ultimate corrupt fashion. Penn was spectacular here performance-wise, and how he got absolutely jacked for this role. He definitely earned that Oscar here, which if you watch the show, he couldn't even be bothered up to show up for his award. Once the story really gets rolling, it has that chaotic feel of a Man on the Run film, and how we follow Leo's character and the overall corruption of Lockjaw's pursuit. Even though this movie's been out for a while, I'm trying not to spoil the direct ins and outs of the story, as that stuff was a mystery to me going in. But it's a really f***ed up scenario that we see take place in a throwback to the Maury Povich show. That Willa girl, one of the targets in Lockjaw's pursuit, is all kinds of beautiful. No wonder why everyone was after her. But the young actress did a great job in what I believe was her first ever role. I loved how the events of the film played out. It wasn't until the Oscars that I learned that this movie was based on a 1990 novel called Vineland, which is why it was in the category for Best Adapted Screenplay. But the rawness, grit, and central themes kept me very much engaged. And while there were a lot of flawed characters, Leo and Willa were the good ones you could get behind. There's more I'd like to say about the ending, but that would be getting into spoiler territory, which I want to avoid that for this review. It is a long movie, coming in at 2 hours 34 minutes without credits, but there's lots of great content in there, so it makes it worth it. The overall movie is indeed firmly excellent, but by the end it did creep up and reach legendary status for me.
Viva la revolution!
Watching the movie the second time was better than the first time I saw it, as admittedly I was a little tired when I watched it for the first time earlier this year. But it's a movie that'll live up to its Oscar bait billing if you choose to check it out. If I were to redo my end of the year ranking video, I'd move it up to slot 3 instead of 4. I know, big change, right? I'll probably start a new tradition now of watching the Best Picture winner for a second time right after the Oscars. Seems as relevant a time as any to check out those films again. So that'll do it for this review of One Battle After Another. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.